Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Time for a new video. So how are you? Hope you guys are doing well. Today's video is going to be, I'm not going to call it my first impressions. We're going to call it my early reactions to using this now Sony FX30 and what I'm thinking so far. So that's the plan for today's video, is just kind of talk about, some of the good, some of the not so good, and just overall my early reaction, my early impressions on this camera now that I've had it for almost 2 weeks. So stick around, don't go nowhere. Alright guys, so let's talk about the first thing. Actually, I'm going to double these up, so I'm going to give you guys one positive, one negative on each of these little conversation pieces that we have. So let's first, very positive person, so we're going to start with the positive first. First thing is image quality. The 4K coming out of this camera is awesome. If you expose the S-Log3 good and grade it, oh man, the footage comes out looking, man, footage looks amazing. So the image quality coming out of this is great. It's sharp, it's clean, dynamic range is amazing. So yeah, the image quality, I love it. Now let's talk about the negative. Kind of pick at the image quality here just for a sec, but it's a specific frame rate, the 4K 120. Now this isn't me saying it's bad, because it's not bad, but I'm a little underwhelmed. Now, I did have the Sony a7S III, and now let me preface this by saying I wasn't expecting the 4K 120 to be as good as the a7S III. But again, I was a little underwhelmed. It's not bad, but it's not great. I have yet to try the 4K 60, so that's something I'll be working on a little bit more, is trying the 4K 60, and I got a feeling it's going to be better quality than the 4K 120. Could be wrong. Maybe the additional crop that they add for the 4K 120 might be the reason some of that image quality is not as good. But yeah, so the 4K 120 has been a little meh, but again, I'm still gonna use it. It's still good, it's just not great. Alright guys, welcome back. Let me know how the audio sounds with this. I'm using these new Rode wireless Migos, I guess. I don't even know the exact name. I know they have a few different ones of these, but let me know how the audio sounds. I'm testing them out right now. So anyways, let's get on to the second set of reasons as to how I feel, my initial reactions to this camera after owning it for 2 weeks. And number 2 would be the build quality. I love the build of this camera. It is a sexy looking camera. Basically, it has basically has a built-in cage on it. You have all these mounting points on the camera. It doesn't have an EVF, but I don't really care. I never really used the EVF to begin with. It's sleek, it's light, it's nice. I love the build quality of this camera. Now, let's talk about the negative. Another negative about it. I guess it's not really a negative, it's more of I just really like the build quality of Canon cameras, and the R6, the R, they still are some of the best built cameras that I've ever had my hands on personally. So I would say that's, even though I love the build quality, it's an amazingly built camera. It's very nice looking. Like I said, it's a sexy looking camera. Love the camera so far, as far as the looks, the feel of it. But it still just can't beat the feel of the Canon R6, the Canon EOS R, even the R5. I've never held the R5, but I gotta imagine it's pretty similar. They just feel really great in the hand. And yeah, until some other camera unseats it, that's, Canon cameras, their full frame mirrorless cameras are just amazingly built cameras. Alright guys, so let's talk about the third thing I'm thinking about when it comes to my initial early impressions on this camera, and some of the positives, the third positive I can come up with, and it's all these tally lights when you're recording on this thing. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3 around the screen, 1 in the back. So man, you got tally lights all over this thing. So it's awesome, because I don't know how many times I've recorded something on previous cameras and I thought I pressed record, and I go back to look at the footage and I find out you know what? No, I didn't press record. That is so freaking frustrating. So that's awesome to be able to have that feature and know with 100% certainty you are recording. So let's talk about a negative. Again, it's not a massive negative, but the third negative would be the menu system. It's definitely a hell of a lot better than Sony's past menu systems, but coming from Canon is just so freaking easy to navigate, and it's so user friendly. It's still an adjustment with this menu system, and just as far as knowing where to find everything. So some things you gotta kind of dive deep in there to find it, but again, it's definitely a vast improvement over what Sony was rolling out before with all of its older cameras. Alright guys, final pro and con for my early impressions on this Sony FX30. And let's start with the Pro. Pro is going to be the dual native ISO of 800 and 2500. Honestly, I wish the second ISO was a little bit higher, 3200, maybe 4000. That would have been, for this camera, I think that would have been perfect, but it is what it is. But it's been something good. I feel like the low light performance has been pretty good for a crop sensor camera. Here's a couple shots from a little shoot myself and my partner had this past weekend. So these were all shot in low light. I shot it on my Sirui 23mm f1.2 and my Sigma 16mm f1.4, and definitely helped out in those low light situations, and this footage came back looking really nice, really clean, and there wasn't a lot of light in those situations. So yeah, I definitely think the dual native ISO is something positive for this camera. Now let's talk about the final con. We're gonna kind of nitpick on the low light now. I just praised it, and I feel like it's good, definitely for this camera. But coming from a full frame camera, the Canon R6, that was really good in low light, in my opinion. Worked really well for me in low light situations. I do find myself definitely having to pay more attention and be more mindful with the exposure in low light situations with this camera, because with my R6, I could kind of, I want to be lazy with it, but I could just base, okay, I'm in a low light situation, I'm gonna bump up this ISO, and it still could come out okay. With this, I can bump it up some. I haven't gone above 5,000 yet. That's as high as I've gone. I'm kind of, I feel like that might be pushing it in some situations. Obviously, I will continue to test and continue to see how it goes, but that is definitely something I have to pay more attention to with the exposure of this camera. If I know I'm going to be in low light situations, maybe bring an additional light to help out with those situations, like the little mini aperture light that I'm shooting on right now, using as my key light. So things like that, just have to be more mindful. Anyways guys, those are my 4 pros, cons for my early impressions on the Sony FX30. That's pretty much it. Definitely loving the camera so far so good. I've had it about 2 weeks now, and it's I've loved it so far. I can't complain. It's been an awesome camera. Survived, did well on my first shoot. Yeah, loving it. Can't wait to test it out and try it out and do more jobs with it moving forward. Anyways guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time I make a video. Have a good one.